HoopSisters, and today we're going to do our log cabin block. This on the wall is our full log cabin block, and we also have a half log cabin block. This is our half log cabin block. Our block is actually right here. We have half of a log cabin and the other half is plain fabric with the quilting. And today we're going to show you the fabric and thread key. You're going to need your, first of all, your backing fabric, your fabric 1, fabric 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then fabric 7. You will also need your thread A, your thread B, with the matching bobbin, and you'll need your vanish wash away thread.
Hi, this is Annie from HoopSisters, and I'm going to show you how to get started with the log cabin block. The first step for the log cabin is you would stitch your pattern out using thread A and onto your battleizer. Step 2 is you take your fabric 7 and you lay it right side up, right over that center square, and take it back to your machine so it can stitch the tack down. We have our fabric down in the center square and it's been tacked down, and now I'm going to trim, and what you want to do is trim so that you leave 1/8 of an inch after you trim. Step 3 for the log cabin is you would take your fabric 3, lay it right side down, right raw edges even with the center square, and let the sewing machine stitch the seam. In step 4, you're going to take your fabric 3 and you're going to flip it so the right side is up. You're going to finger press and let the machine stitch a tack down. Now that I've completed step 4, we're going to trim the fabric. We're going to trim it 1/4 of an inch, and then we're going to use the same fabric, which is still our fabric 3. We're going to put it right side down, raw edges even, and we're going to stitch the seam right there. For step number 6, we're going to flip our fabric 3 right side up, smooth it out, finger press it, and the machine will stitch a tack down. We've just completed step 6, so I'm going to trim my fabric 1/4 of an inch. After that, on step 8, we're going to be using fabric 3, the same fabric, all the way around the first rotation. So I will still place fabric 3 right there. The machine stitches a seam, and again we will flip it. And I'm just going to, gets repetitive, so after that you will then lay the fabric 3 strip here, stitches a seam, and you flip it again. And when you finish going all the way around, then you need to pay attention on your instructions what fabric it calls for. And it's just a stitch and flip all the way around, and we'll come back and show you how to do the outside edges. I just finished step 19 where I sewed on this fabric and it stitched the seam, and now we're along the outside edge. So what we'll do is we'll flip this fabric over, finger press, and on the machine we're going to put our water-soluble Vanish Light thread in there, and it's going to sew the tack down stitch. For step 21, we're going to put thread A in the needle only, and then we're going to take fabric 1 and we're going to lay it right side down, raw edges even, and stitch the seam. For step 22, you're going to put your water-soluble thread in the needle only, and then you're going to take your fabric 1, you're going to flip it so the right side is up, you're going to finger press, and the machine will sew a tack down stitch. For step 23, you're going to put the thread A in the needle only, and then you're going to take fabric 1 and you're going to lay it right side down to the rest of the block, raw edges even, and the machine will stitch a seam. For step 24, you're going to put water-soluble thread in the needle only, and you're going to take your fabric 1, you're going to flip it so the right side is up, and you're going to smooth it out and finger press it, and the machine will stitch a tack down stitch. For step 25, you're going to put thread A in the needle only, and then your fabric 5, you're going to take it and put the right side down, raw edges even, and the machine will stitch the seam. For step 26, you're going to put water-soluble thread in the needle only, and you're going to take your fabric 5 and flip it so the right side is up, and the machine will sew the tack down stitch. Okay, we have all the piecing done on the front of our block, and I decided to add a little embroidery, and this is just a little design that comes from my embroidery machine of some of the built-in stitches, a little button embroidery. Now it is time for step number 27 to put the backing fabric on. So to put the backing fabric on, we're going to take our backing fabric and we're going to spray the wrong side of the backing fabric, a little temporary spray adhesive. And in the needle on the machine, we're going to put our Vanish Light water-soluble thread, and we're going to sew the tack down stitch to hold the backing fabric on the back. Step 28, you're going to put your thread B in the needle and the bobbin, and it's going to sew the quilting stitches. I'm getting ready to do the quilting on here, and one of the things that I need to have you do, if you have a thread cutting feature on your machine, you need to turn it off right now. To get started, whenever we have the back on our quilt, I have a tip for you to hold on to your needle thread and do a needle down, needle up, bring your bobbin thread to the top, and that way, by doing that, you will avoid any bird nests or knotting on the back of your quilt block.
Here we have our two completed log cabin blocks. One we stitched the cute little button design in the center before we put the backing on, and the other one is just the log cabin by itself. They're both very cute. So now it's time to trim them. And again, if you're going to be putting any HoopSisters block that's going to be on the outside edge of your quilt, you have to trim 1/4 inch through all layers. So I will pretend that this edge is going to be my outside edge where my binding will be attached, and I'm going to take my regular ruler and trim that 1/4 inch through all layers. I'll line up that basting line with the 1/4 inch line on my ruler. And rotary cut. So I have a 1/4 inch seam there for my binding. And the other edges, I'm going to use the trimmer by George. And to use the trimmer by George, we pull back the top part of the block. We take our trimmer, which has a little crimped edge, and we put the trimmer edge, snug it up to the stitching line, the basting line, pull the trimmer down flat, tug the battleizer just a little to make sure we have it snugged up. Make sure we do not have any block front sticking out underneath the trimmer. And then we use the rotary cutter and we trim right along the trimmer edge and completely remove the battleizer and the backing, which will leave just the face fabric. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on the rest of the 3 sides, and then we'll come back and show you the next step. So here's our block so far, with one edge trimmed 1/4 inch through all layers with the regular ruler, 3 edges trimmed with the trimmer by George. This is what the back will look like. Now we need to trim the front edge with the regular ruler again. So we'll turn it back over, and on the side with the backing and the batting trimmed off, we will take the regular ruler, place the 1/4 inch line on the basting line, and trim off just the block front. In this case there's very little because we were a little bit skimpy when we made the block, but there is some. And we'll do that on all 3 sides. So there we have our finished block on the front and on the back.